Do you want to improve your thinking skills and your ability to handle adverse and difficult situations, like, for example, remembering facts and figures? I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations, where we work on the skills of executive function, critical thinking, and the ability to make better decisions. Now, we have a methodology that I've described in other places that can help you achieve master levels, to be more impactful, to have continuous growth, to gain peak performance by being able to recall, not remember, but be able to recall relevant facts and information in order to deliver solutions for clients. So let's say you're at a networking event and you don't quite recall somebody's name. What is a method that you can use to recover that name or to gain information to at least seem like you're a friend, it's a friendly interaction, and then ultimately move towards your objective, which would be to qualify individuals or to extend your business network. There's other methods that include how do we reinforce learning? So we've read a book. How do we embrace the best facts out of that book and then put them into action? Now, I've had more than 23 years of experience of writing articles and podcasts and other materials that actually came from my own individual learning and my own ability to gain advancement in the workplace by really consuming the right kind of information and then packaging it in such a way that I could actually do the implementation. See, without the implementation, you really are just full of useless knowledge. Now, I've been blamed, or people have said that I have a lot of useless information, and I've got 500 and some podcasts, and I've written books and special reports, and I'm a subject matter expertise in risk management and business development, and that includes processes and stuff. But when I really look at my area of expertise, it is precisely the area in which I've taken an active role in learning. There's nothing I know today that is accidental. There's no skill set that, so for example, when I first got into workforce, I was making as much money as grown adults. So I'm out of high school. I had run a computer consultancy. I had done computer repair. I had done some landscaping. I go and work for a company, start out at minimum wage, of course. And the next thing you know, I'm making $21 an hour. Or I'm making $19 an hour in the 90s as a 20 something year old kid. As I moved along, I didn't have a college degree till I'm 40 years old. I had an associate's degree. It took me 6 years to get that because I was so busy serving clients and traveling all over the place. I was able to earn $98,000 a year for a number of years in historical dollars. So a lot more money than $98,000 today. But I was able to do that without a college degree and in a workplace where everybody I was working with had master's degrees, they had doctorates. It was an engineering environment. That's because, again, I applied my interest, my curiosity to the computer science world, software development, and then project management of those activities. So I was able to organize people and organize systems and design environments for maximum productivity. Now, that was a long time ago, and I've still been doing those types of things. And I tell you about these successes not to brag, but because I've packaged a methodology that helps you accelerate your learning and produce greater authentic connection, greater personal satisfaction, but puts you in a position where people come to you for answers. So if you're already a subject matter expert and you'd like to be seen as an authority in your marketplace, if you are already knowledgeable in an area and you'd like consulting opportunities or advisory work, if you've been overlooked in a business and you want to find ways to be seen by decision makers either inside your organization or outside the organization, I can show you in 12 days a unique methodology that helps you gain this type of competitive advantage. You're going to have more transferable skills. You're going to be able to shift between industries faster because I've made the shift. I used to be computer repair. And then I realized when Dell came out that computers were disposable. So I became a systems administrator. Then I realized the Windows systems administrators were a dime a dozen coming out of high school. And then I went to Unix systems administration, sometimes within a few weeks. But again, I used a methodology that I've refined over the last 23 years. I've written about it in various different ways, but it has to do, again, with how you do self-evaluation. So the mindfulness and awareness of who you are, what your skills are, the way you interact with people around you, your growth mindset, your personal learning strategies, and a few other techniques that I can teach you in a 12 day, 12 day, not 12 week, but a 12-day approach. Now, again, once you pick up the core strategies and the foundational methodologies, you'll practice these for the rest of your life. Now, there's no secret to what I'm sharing here. In fact, these methodologies are included in my podcast over the last, I think I've been doing podcasts for 20 years now. I've done coaching assignments and client work and commissioned reports, and I have a library of materials that I'll be pulling from. But I guarantee you, I published the majority of this in the past. And if you'd like to go through 500 podcasts and read every one of my books and get copies of my special reports that are likely floating around there in PDF format, you're welcome to do so. Or in 12 days, you and I can sit down, or you and I in a small group can sit down, and we can talk about these strategies that improve your executive function, improve your ability to get more work done, help you achieve peak performance, help you learn faster, especially if you're transitioning between careers, help you establish credibility. In fact, I'll give you copies of some of these reports as we're working together. But again, a 12-day program. I'm going to tell you what we're doing. I'll give you a high-level approach to it because some of you wizards out there are going to want to try to figure out how to do this yourself without investing any money in a program, because this is a paid program. I'm going to take 12 days with you. Every day we're going to be on the phone. We're going to have one-on-one sessions. We're going to have group training. We're going to have a little bit of an online training area where we can go in and you can get these pieces of material as they're available for you. You'll have homework assignments. So this is not an inexpensive investment. But again, let's talk about what we're going to do. Day one, we're going to set the foundation. So our objective is set the foundation so that once you graduate from these 12 days, that you're going to have $1 million opportunity to apply this new knowledge for. Now, for some people, that could be a career change. So you've been making 6 figures and now you're going to transition to a new industry because you're overworked, you're underappreciated, that 6 figures is just, you're seeing everybody getting outsourced overseas. So now you're going to upgrade your career to go into a new area. And so you plan to be in that area for another 10 years, and you go from possibly being laid off to having $100,000 a year over the next 10 years. And so that's $1 million opportunity. So let's say got you at 150,000, which is pretty typical for most of my subscribers. And now that's $1.8 million in 12 years. It's very quick how this can improve. Now, if you're making $50,000 a year and we can get you to $100,000 a year, $100,000 a year, I don't even know why I'm calculating this right now, times 10 is going to be $1 million. That's what I'm talking about, $1 million idea. Now, if you're a business owner, setting up front the intention and how we're going to use these methodologies is going to help you develop new products. It's going to help you position yourself in the marketplace, but it has to do with, are you listening to credible experts, and are you able to differentiate a credible expert? Now, here's the big challenge here as somebody who's teaching things, is that I'm going to teach you how to know whether or not I'm full of crap. So the first day, we'll put your money on the back table, and if at the end of the first day you're not completely satisfied with what we're doing, then I'll give you your money back. But the key is, once we set those goals for the next 12 days, we're going to hold you to it, because there's some exercises to do. There's some ways to look at yourself differently. There's some ways of looking at the competitors and businesses as well that is going to unlock new opportunity. It's going to help you drive home better results and better outcomes. Let's look at day 2 and 3. Day 2 and 3 is an earnest self-assessment. Now, if you do this as a group, so a lot of times I've done these kind of programs with mastermind groups, with trade associations, with the executives in a business. And when we do this kind of program, we do individual self-assessments, and we do them through various means, but we can also do group assessments that are blind. Now, I know the social dynamics that if your senior level executive is in front of you and they're going to tell you advice in front of a group of people, everybody's got to self-censor. But we have a way of doing this where we take all the feedback from all the people, mash it all up together, and we can provide you a report that was generated from the group. Now, we need a group of 7 to 9 people to do that, because if there's just 2 of you in the room, then you know who said what. But ultimately, my staff will go through the individual feedback, and then we'll extract from that the key ideas and concepts that you can do in your evaluation. So now not only do you have goals for our time together, but you're able to start seeing how other people see you. There's also an exercise that you can send out to your friends and family and stuff like that. But ultimately, this is about how does the world see you, and how do you see yourself, and the innate strengths and weaknesses you have. And there's assessments to do this. And by the way, this 12 days is first 7 days is very difficult. I will tell you, some people will break down and cry. Some people need to have a little pressure release on this. Some people realize that they're not doing the things that need to be done to get the results that they're looking for. And that's okay. That's okay. And that's why we have the individual sessions, so that I can help you with individual coaching, so that you're not getting overwhelmed. Because again, once we get past the third day, now we're starting grinding down on those best practices. And I don't know if grinding down is the best thing to say, but iron sharpens iron. I'm a pretty matter of fact type of person. And what we're doing here is we're honing that blade on day 4 and 5. We're honing that blade day 4 and 5. We're using the feedback that you got. We've done a few exercises so you can evaluate yourself. And it's all digital, by the way. We do this from time to time in person. It is a high 5-figure investment, where we go to a resort and we have relaxation and different things. And we might do the retreat model if you're interested in it. But ultimately, this is a 12-day program that we can do online in conference calls and sessions. It's a lot of work on my part. If there's 7 people there and I'm doing daily consultations, that's seven consultations a day. But again, why is this so important? First off, when you start learning the best practices from a mindset of goals and objectives, and from personal evaluation, you can now say, oh, wait a second. I have this challenge, or I perceive I have this challenge. And if I do this one thing, oh my gosh, it's a different world. I did a podcast earlier today about some of the frustration folks have right now. They feel like they're being persecuted. There's a lot of dumping on people. If you say the wrong thing in public, you could get canceled. And I talked about one of the techniques that you can use to make yourself immune to outside criticism. Now, there are other techniques that make you immune to inside criticism, but ultimately, uh, these best practices help you be more effective. They help you present yourself more clearly, communicate clearly, and to help you move forward on your goals and objectives. Let's talk about day 6 through 8. So we've got first 5 days is definitely like foundational. Okay, and now people are starting to get a little more relaxed, and we can now start 6 and 7 is definitely implementation, and then a guided implementation. By 8, you're ready to do more targeted practices outside of our sessions. But we're going to share a little bit about, hey, I did this, and here's what happened. Here's some success, or I've seen this work. But we're going to start talking about how to pace your communications when you're talking with yourself. How to get that quiet voice within that gives you time and gives you experience and helps turn knowledge into wisdom. We're going to talk about ways to really reconnect with who you are, so that when someone knocks you out in this, and it can happen, you can get canceled, you could get laid off, something bad could have happened, and that trauma is there. How do we reset and get back on track? See, we're going to practice these things. We're going to establish exercises, and how do we implement those best practices? So you get in this library, and then we're going to look at applying it right away. Now, in our private coaching sessions, we can talk about your own personal experiences and difficulties and challenges. And I understand these things. There's a non-disclosure on my part that we're not going to share that stuff in a group. Some people are worried that this type of event, we're going to sit around and go around the circle and have a struggle session. I don't believe in that kind of stuff. When you're interacting in a group, if there is a group environment, because again, if you bring up your mastermind group, or you've got your investment group, or you've got your trade association, you may want to discuss some of these topics openly. But if it's just, if it's a bunch of different people that don't know each other and don't do business with each other, I appreciate the privacy of being good listeners. Okay. And the privacy of everybody working on their own thing, rather than trying to push on other people the thing. We're going to focus, we're going to extract, and then we're going to do this targeted practice. Now, I'm going to give you individual exercises in a lot of cases because you're going to tell me up front where you want to work on things. And then I'm going to observe, I'm going to look, I'm going to look at your response to different things, the surveys and stuff like that. And then we're going to give you that targeted practice. But when we get to 9 and 10, this is where you start cranking up the volume, okay? So you're going to have that confidence. You're going to have those best practices. You're going to have something you can go back to and reference. You're going to have additional materials and training that you can view on your own time after the presentation. And so day 9 and 10 is that external feedback. It's that presentation you prepare to go up in front of the board and explain how it's going to be and what your plan is to grow the organization. And then you're going to be getting their feedback. It's going to be calling trusted advisors and friends and people in your mastermind and having those one-on-one sessions that you saw me do with you. See, my greatest strength is going to be to listen, evaluate, and provide constructive feedback. And so you're going to go out and some of the exercises you've already done inside the group, you're going to go do those exercises outside the group. And my goal is that you interact with 100 people. I know that's a little scary, but if you're a selling professional and you're in this program to improve your selling skills and improve how you communicate with people and better understanding where you come from and better understanding your organization, where it comes from, you're going to go and talk to 100 people anyway, because if you talk to 100 people and 1 out of 10 becomes an appointment and 10 out of 1 out of that 10 becomes a customer, this is going to be a massive changing opportunity. If you're looking for a new opportunity or you're concerned about getting laid off or you're a subject matter expert, talking with 100 people could be as easy as just making a few phone calls to recruiters. It could be speaking at a local trade group. It could be doing something. But again, this external feedback is not about how well you present it. It's about how powerful the idea is. See, again, this is about transformation into million-dollar opportunities. There's a reason why, as a high school graduate, I was able to make as much as adults with master's degrees. Now, money isn't the only thing. I had mentors that came to me. I had mentors that when I asked them for help were more than willing to help. I am simply returning the favor in the mentorship side by teaching you the techniques that I used to be a high in demand individual during my career times, during my consulting. And the opportunities are amazing. I can't share them all because of non-disclosures, but I ultimately can tell you through the best practices, what do you need to do to create and keep profitable customers, to be a valuable market player, to be in demand as a consultant or a high income professional, to leverage up your income. Because there was a time I went bankrupt and I failed and everything seemed to go wrong. And I had this long pity party. And then suddenly I go from making $0 to $4,000 a year. By the way, that was a year and it sucked really bad. But then after that to 50,000 to 100,000, no big deal. Again, because there is some mindset. So when we talk about this internally, it's maybe you'll feel a little more comfortable, but when you go talk externally, oh my gosh, the external inputs from all over the place. Now we're going to do the same thing. You're going to capture that input in a way that we can have our team go through it, break it down into best practices, because we're going to ask what the positive things are and the negative things are. You may pull copies of your previous employment evaluations, which we can help you digest. But ultimately, again, day 9 and 10 is about that external feedback. Now, you're going to continue doing this for the rest of your career because it's so powerful. It's so beneficial. It's worth every penny. But you got to do it the right way because it can also be devastating and upsetting and frustrating. I used one of these exercises and I was told that I looked old. So a recruiter told me that I looked too old for the position. Another recruiter told me, and by the way, it is beneficial to get that feedback. Okay, you may not like it, but to get that feedback is going to help you be more aware of how the world sees you so that you can have accurate thinking and deliver what the world needs in order to get the results that you're looking for. But I had another recruiter told me I look like a white supremacist. So I come to you with suspenders on, I come with you the beard, I come with you looking different, and that's okay for me. I don't really care what you think. I do know that the results that I've gained over the years and the outcomes I'm able to produce for clients, because in 100 people, 2 people had negative comments. Okay. The other 98 had positive comments and consulting assignments and all the things that I was looking for in the engagement. But again, if you don't get the external feedback, it is not going to help you grow, because day 11, and we're going to give you the structure for feedback and you start doing that 9 and 10. But day 11, we're going to start reflecting on growth. It is possible, no matter how difficult you think the situation is today, it is highly likely, no matter how difficult you think the situation is today, that you've had 3 to 5 successes that we can build on historically, to build out case studies, to demonstrate your value in the marketplace, to position you even further than you've gone today. So I've had people who come to me that already have $1 million businesses, and they have problems like $1 million in the bank they don't know what to do with, and they want to grow their business. And I've had people come to me who are a little hard up. You know, the situation's been bad. They've been laid off. They haven't been able to find work for a couple years, and they're serious about getting back in the marketplace, and they've been beat down. And I know that feeling. When I was literally bankrupt and homeless, making $0 in the course of a year. And then even getting it to $4,000 a year was difficult. I did 300 job interviews with Target, Walmart, all these places. And then my first job interview for a $50,000 a year job, I get it. You know, because I'm over here. So we're going to work on the mindset, because I believed I had failed the business and went bankrupt in the business. And then that failure mindset kept me from trying hard and going and talking to recruiters and talking to bigger companies. And then I went, by the way, that was $50,000 in the year 2000, 2001, 2002, after the dot-com crash. I didn't have my stuff together, and I learned from it that it took one interview to get a $50,000 a year job, which was multiples of the $4,000 a year I was making. And suddenly I'm back in the game. I went from 50,000 to 70,000 to 90,000 to 100 and something again. But again, it's not just the money. These best practices and skills, when we're reflecting on growth, you're going to notice you've already implemented some of these before. And those become keystones in order to start driving forward even further. So again, a day 11 is about reflecting on your journey and using a journal to start building these case studies, because when you go home, and there's some follow-up to this program, there's 12 months of follow-up, by the way. But in these 12 days, you're going to build a foundation for outcomes. Not just results, but measurable outcomes that you can take to the bank, that you can be confident about. You can get back on your game. You can get back in track. You can change industries. You can jump to the next market. It's what we call strategic relationships. So this 12 days works on your relationship with yourself. And then it also starts setting the groundwork for an accurate representation of who you are and the potential you deliver to the marketplace, so that you can start back in $1 million opportunities. The last day, number 12, we're going to go some reviews and stuff on day 12, but you are responsible for a presentation. So the rest of the time, you may not have talked with other people in your group, but at the last day, and it depends on the group, because we do this for private clients. We do this for individuals. So what I'm going to ask you, I'm not going to ask you to give me any money. At the end of this, I want you to get on a waiting list, and then we'll assess everybody and see whether we should do a mixed group, whether we should go over to Primland and have a live physical space for 12 days, whether we should do the presentations, hybrid, like in person for a week and then online. The format doesn't matter. The format doesn't matter, because day 12, you're going to now have that final presentation, 2 presentations. One is who you are and what can you do. So I have a book called What Do I Want and How Do I Get It? You're going to go through that book and finish the exercise in that book, which, by the way, if you want to buy the book and do the exercise, that'll get you started. But the key is, informed by all this feedback, informed by methods, best practices, you're going to do that presentation. It's not an elevator speech. It's a 30-minute presentation that you've been building up to over the last 11 days, and it is going to keynote who you are. Now, if we do this in person, what we do is we have you dress up, we get professional cameras out, and we have you do this presentation, because this is like a living resume. This is an authority presentation. This is the foundation for a book or a report. This is something that when people look at it, they're going to be like, This guy's got his stuff together. This gal has got their stuff together. This person knows what I want to do business with this person. So it could even be a commercial, but it all depends on our journey together over the 12 days. The second presentation you're going to do is going to be feedback from the activity as if you were not yourself. Okay, what do I mean by this? It's a little abstract. You're going to collect all the written materials and the journaling and everything, and you're going to go in a room by yourself. There's nobody watching this presentation. In fact, you'll be the only person who sees this presentation other than our editors, if you so choose to have the editor do the work. It's a very powerful activity. We're going to give you some scripts to work through and some guidelines and some prompts. But the way we implement this video to yourself, it's transformational. In fact, I wish I had this when I was sleeping on my brother's floor, homeless, being asked to leave. Now, I don't blame them, but I'd have to leave the house when their friends come over because I was that much of an embarrassment. Now, I haven't made that big of a mistake anymore. I learned my lesson. I evaluated myself. I did all the things that we're going to learn about this program, but I learned a lot more from my mentors that I can share with you now, because that was 20 years ago, and I'm a completely different person. I've got growth opportunity that we can share with you. Now, other people who have gone through this program as consulting clients or private clients have added hundreds of millions of dollars to their activity. Now, that's not one person adding hundreds of millions of dollars. That's like 70 or 80 people that have gone through this type of program, each adding a little bit here and there, a million there, a million there. But I'll tell you up front, results are not typical. Some people will go through this exercise and it's going to be like vacation. They go to vacation to recharge, and then as soon as they get back to the office, they drain out the batteries and they go back to the old slump they're in. This 12 days is only transformational if you apply the best practices, if you do the exercises, which I'll help you do the exercises, if you show up for your consultations, and you ultimately move forward. Now, again, when we hold this type of thing in-house, so we go to a resort, we go to a retreat center, and we go through this exercise. It is completely confidential. Nobody knows who has ever been at one of these events before. The details shared in the event are not retained. I don't keep copies of it. You go home with everything, or the materials are gone. Because sometimes people share things that are personal that we'd rather not. We're not there to. It's not a virtue signaling thing. It is actual work. By the way, though, if you are religious, and you want to pray on things, that's great. We encourage meditation and prayer. And then if you want our consultations to be, I do have a minister. I'm a reverend. So if you do want to talk at that level with me, again, I want to assure you that all consultations they are confidential. There's the concept of non-disclosure. And when we talk about some of these things, I do understand that some of these topics are difficult. Okay, I'm not your counselor or anything, but ultimately, when you're looking at that mindset and you're like, oh my gosh, you hear a best practice, you're like, oh my God, I've been doing this wrong the whole time. It can get emotional. And sometimes that's not so good in a group setting. Sometimes you want to do that individually. It's up to you. I just want to let you know that this is, when there's six-figure earners in the room, when there's people coming up, we do this in a way that you don't come with the old baggage. Okay. In fact, in a group setting, very often everybody's assigned numbers or a color or something nondescriptive. We don't even use real names. And the reason we do this, again, is because we want to set aside that ego. We want to work on strategies that increase wealth, strategies that improve your executive function, strategies that help you accomplish more, strategies that help you think more clearly. We want a transformational movement into your better self. It doesn't matter what mistakes you've made in the past. I only mention my mistakes in the past so that you feel comfortable that I've seen it before. I've done dumb stuff. I've spent, I think it was like $516,000 making stupid mistakes. I know the expense of experience, and now 20 years later, 10 years later, maybe 2 days later, and I don't mean to get so excited about this, but it is transformational. That positive feedback, the ways of improving your thinking without becoming diluted, the impact of being present in a situation, the ability to think and speak clearly, we will cover in 12 days. It is very intense at times, and then at other times it is just so refreshing to see that there is a path to outcomes. Now, today, in the way the economy is, and the way things are, I will tell you that we can work out. If we're doing presentations and editing recordings and there's staff and stuff, this isn't free. Okay, I'll just tell you, it's not free. It's a 5-figure investment, and then if it's in person, it may be more. And this is just something you need to know. But I'm not asking you to put up any money. I'm not asking you to think about the increase in earnings and the more stability in your job and the opportunity to change between markets and the $1 million opportunities. I'm asking you, if you're interested in this 12 days, which I've outlined, to visit me at www.insidestrategicrelations.com. Go to the contact page and ask about I don't even have a title for it, but this transformational 12 days. Ask about the transformational 12 days. You can also visit www.justinhitt.com in order to learn more about myself. I have got practical experience that I'd love to share with you. Now let's talk about real quick. That's the 12 days, the 12-month follow-up. Okay. You get 6 consultation coupons where you're going to get on my calendar for an actual consultation, which is an assessment, time on the phone, and then a follow-up written report of findings. Okay. They're like $900 each. You're going to get 6 of those. Plus, you're going to get VIP access to when we do the group Q&As. Because at the end of every podcast, I say, if you go to the website and you ask your questions, I'll answer it in a podcast. If I see your question come along, because by the way, the folks that finish these are considered private clients. So there's a confidentiality associated with private clients. If you want the clergy related confidentiality, that's welcome too. Most of the people who come into these programs aren't doing anything evil. They're just got questions and challenges and obstacles that you frankly just need a plan in a toolbox in order to go address. So we'll set that up accordingly. But again, I'm going to know who you are. I'm going to know a lot about your situation. I'm going to want to hear progress. I want to hold you accountable. I want to get you the additional help that you might need after these programs. So in the 12-month period, we're going to unlock some of the membership site so you can go into that library there. You're going to, of course, have access to the course program. You're going to have all the printed materials that we sent you, but you're going to be able to pick up the phone, scheduled appointment first, but you're going to be able to pick up the phone and you and I talk on the phone. I can work out some of the challenges you have. The biggest strength that I'm going to deliver to you is being able to listen sincerely at your situation, offer you within the scope of my expertise. There will be times I'll refer you to people, but within the scope of my expertise to offer a actionable solution and then ultimately to hold you accountable to actually implement. Now, some of this stuff, the implementation is as easy as writing a letter and photocopying it and mailing it to a bunch of people and they fax it back to you. Some of it is easy as online and, but some of it is hard because to sit down and read what you wrote and to challenge your beliefs and expectation is very difficult, And we've had people in the program from different walks of life, different countries. It is conducted in English, by the way. But ultimately, if your mastermind, if your sales group, if your trade association, if your strategic partnerships want to sit down and solve some big problems, we did this for a week with the Fortune 100. By the way, I'm not the only one that presents at these things. We have a small team put together according to who's going to be in the cohort. A cohort is where you contact me and you ask a question. I put you on a waiting list, and then we look at who's in the list, and then we match up, 15, 20 people and set up a date, and then 7 to 8 people, depending on what's going on, will commit and come out to do the program. Now, we can do it in person at a resort. We can do it over the phone. Ideally, though, you're going to implement. So if you're just tire kicking and you're not sure, and just ask questions. It doesn't cost you anything to ask questions, but we encourage action seekers. We encourage individuals that want $1 million opportunities, people who want to overcome big problems, and they want to have, and they're willing to measure the results that they gain. I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. I don't even know what I'm calling this program these days, but it is a self-discovery program, a 12-day program that reinforces best practices to improve your communications, to improve your influence, to build stronger and more strategic business relationships, and to ultimately help you achieve peak performance. Questions are welcome, and you can join the mailing list or the waiting list by visiting www.insidestrategicrelations.com. Go to the contact page. By the way, there's a bunch of free resources there, but if you go to the contact page and ask about the 12-day program, I'll know what you're talking about, and I'll get you some details and answer any questions. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of this podcast and the programs that we put together for our clients. And if you're a private client, there's a very steep discount for returning clients, of course. And of course, returning private clients are more than welcome to come out, because this is something that you invest 12 days and you get a lifetime of value out of it. And that's what I'm here to deliver. Again, I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. I help my clients create and keep profitable customers and transform business relationships into profits guaranteed. Not just the profits of financial return, but profits in relationship, profits in influence, profits in better decision making, and profits in better outcomes. I'll see you in the next one.